The other day I got bored and took a personality quiz. I scrolled around and then I ended up into this website with all the cartoon characters just hanging out. Looked like everybody in the entire world took the test. So, I didn't want to be the only guy in the entire world to miss out, so I went ahead and then I took the test. 50-something questions later, I got my test results. I got the INFJ-a. So basically that means I am the young, assertive Dumbledore. What is it like to be a young, assertive Dumbledore? Well, if we scroll down, we got, principled, we got passionate, we got perfectionistic, we got insightful, we got super private, we got burnout prone. And so what does all of this tell me? Absolutely nothing. Because I realized I wasn't even supposed to take any tests like this in the first place. Let me explain myself. When I got the Dumbledore, I got a little curious. When I got the Dumbledore, I got a little curious and looked into other personality types. And I don't want to bore you with all the details, but essentially with my emotional and cognitive and spiritual and other modalities of my mind and the features of my person, I would have easily gotten Dumbledore or Professor McGonagall or Johnny Cage or Quistis from Final Fantasy VIII. Add that with the fact that personality tests are for the most part unreliable as a method to figure ourselves out. Why? Because of our natural biases and the vague questions and our ability to change our answers willingly and the Barnum effect, i.e. anything that any personality quiz will say about you actually applies to everybody else, albeit to differing degrees. And I also watched this video of this guy rocking that plaid shirt and graduation cap, by the way, it's really nice, that I should instead look at cognitive functions first before I figure out my personality. So, I just wanted to start this off well. I wanted to do this right. So anyways, these are the cognitive functions right here, but I decided to pay attention to introverted intuition because, well, I don't know. I had a good feeling about it. I know it's not the entire thing, and I have more cognitive functions, and I know I'll have to look into the rest of the functions, and I know that the personality police might come after me, and maybe I shouldn't have said anything, but currently I feel like covering this one in particular. So I did some minimal research on this subject, and I wanted to showcase my process of said research to you in a sort of shotgun approach because everybody's pressed for time and I gotta respect your hustle, So among the very, very few things I looked up, I came across an interview by Carl Jung who said that he had a client that talked about having a snake in her belly. I watched this explanation by this well-dressed man who I assume is Austrian. He's from the UK. I didn't know that. And he said that introverted intuition is like this peripheral vision that is pointed inwards and is a thing that happens right before we focus on a singular value that stands out. Or it's like a singular discrepancy and we're aware of it, we just don't know what it is yet. And then I looked at this guy illustrating a visual diagram about connecting dots, memories I presume, from different layers in our mind to process things and make inferences. And then I watched this guy explaining that introverted intuition is not a Jedi mind trick, but it's really just some really weird processing that is going on in our minds. And then I watched this young, quirky ENFP woman voicing her love for INFJs, which is pretty cool. I love this energy, and I love the energy that she gives off, and it's pretty cool. And then I was watching Shrek to find some clues. Why that movie? I don't know, something that had to do with onions. And then after a whole bunch of vlogs, I had the feeling that people were saying carbon copies of what the other person said. And to me, that didn't feel fulfilling, so I just stopped right there. But I did everything that I could to duct tape everything together, so hopefully I could shed some light on what it's like to have introverted intuition. So let's review some notes, shall we? We got ethereal foggy view, directed inwards, right before we focus on a change in value. We got not a Jedi mind trick. We got we're the first to notice a disturbance in the force but can't make out what it is. We got searching through layers and layers of our mind. We got advanced internal processing. We got we don't know how or why we know things. We got it's really because we try to fill in the blanks through abstract reasoning and happen to be spot on sometimes. So what can we conclude from all this note-taking? Well, to be honest, I still don't know if I'm any closer to figuring out what introverted intuition actually is, let alone explain it for the world to see, so I guess I'm going to have to set it aside and be bummed about it for a little while. So, this is it. But let me share the story instead. Back in college, I remember this one time I hung out with my friend. We were waiting for our next chemistry lab. We had time to kill, like 30 minutes, I think. Oh, and for the record, I'm going to be represented by this picture of Ben & Jerry's mint chocolate cookie, the most underrated flavor in the world. And my friend will be represented by this picture of Princess Jasmine. So Jasmine and I were hanging out, like I said, and then her friend came up and chatted for a little while. Now, Jasmine's friend will be represented by this picture of Denise, D-Nice, from the comedy sketch series Key and Peele. So Denise, D-Nice, and I introduced each other, engaged in conversation like human beings would typically do, and I remember distinctly that she had red hair. I'm pretty sure it was dyed hair. I say this detail because I think it's important to keep in mind. So Denise, D-Nice, and Jasmine and I were conversing among ourselves, and then Denise, D-Nice, had to be somewhere, so she, Denise, D-Nice, said see ya, and it was nice meeting you, and whatnot, because our voices sound an octave higher when we meet new people for some reason. And she, Denise, D-Nice, walked and went to wherever she was supposed to be, and I never saw her again. Now this was when it got interesting, because afterwards, while I was talking to Jasmine, something about Denise's, D-Nice's, red hair really prompted me to say, hey, you know, she really looks like her favorite chips are Doritos. Now Jasmine looked at me with this look on her face like, what the hell, how did you know that? And she actually said, what the hell, how did you know that? I was hanging out with her earlier and she bought one from the vending machine. Now, the how did you know is the recurring question in my life that I could never answer, because all I can say is that, well, I don't know how I know. All I remember was that before I went to school, I was eating some boring ass oatmeal, but then after that, I was also eating a small bag of Fritos. Now, Fritos is not Doritos, as far as I'm concerned. It just sounds like it. They just rhyme. Meanwhile, I watched this random video about Eric Andre and Hannibal Buress hacking each other's Tinder profile. Hilarious, by the way. And somewhere within the layers of my mind, I made the connection between all of it, and that led me to make that remark about Denise, D-Nice, and her arbitrary preference for eating Doritos. Built within layers and layers of my mind, somehow those were the connections I made. And searching said layers and layers of my mind, I couldn't figure out why I made those connections in particular. So the moral of the story is this: if you haven't seen Shrek, then we're not friends.